What's up guys, and welcome back once again to Chris Aquariums. As you know, we're in the process right now of setting up a no water change nano tank that you can see right here behind me. And today is going to be a great day because we are going to go pick up everything that we need. We're talking substrate, driftwood, rocks, and we're going to start setting up the tank, filling it up and cycling it to get going. So without further ado, let's get started. So as you know, we already have the basic components of this tank. We have the glass tank itself, we have the light, we have the heater, and we have the filtration. But we need a couple more things before this can get going. And the first we're going to start off with from the ground up is the substrate. For this particular tank, we're going to be having some shrimp in it, so we need a specific type of substrate, one that's going to be slightly more acidic because that's what they're used to in their natural environment, so that's what we're going to provide. Then of course we need some beneficial bacteria. We can cycle the tank, but adding a product like Stability really helps to introduce it early and to make the cycle go a lot quicker. Then of course we can't have an empty tank, we need something inside of it. So we're going to be putting in some driftwood and some rocks and really building up the scape to go along with the plants. Luckily we have a friend of ours who has both of those that we're going to be using in this installation. So I'm pretty sure once this is all set up, we can put together a really cool tank with some neocardinia shrimp, such as reds and yellows and even blues. It's going to be great for our no water change goal, and they're also just pretty cool creatures and fun to watch as well. But lastly, let's not forget all these things are electronic, so we're going to need some plugs, some 2-prong adapters so that we can power this thing. Okay, we've got all the stuff, all the scaping supplies. Now all that's left is to start putting the tank together. Let's go. But before we start with that, it's probably about time to feed our saltwater reef tank, the 130 litre boyo. So we're busy spot feeding the red bubble tip anemones, and in the process we're also feeding the clownfish and our blue-green chromis and our cleaner shrimp and our firefish goby, who's always fun to watch. Okay, but let's get started with the setup. Like I said, we've got our scaping supplies, our rock and our driftwood, some dragon rock and some driftwood, which is going to be perfect. So we'll set them all out on the table so we can see what's going to work with what in this tank setup. All right, let's scale things up. Just checking what size rocks, what kind of wood we need, and to be honest, we need to make a little bit of adjustments here. Okay, so let's start off with the driftwood. We want to get the height right to the top of the tank, and this rock is actually beautiful for breaking up into the right size that you need. So we're going to break it up and make sure that it's exactly the right size for what we want. Alright, let's put these things together. There's a kind of idea that I want here, and I'm just fitting things together to make it come to life. Eventually, after a couple of tries, I think I got the basic gist of what I want for it. So we'll have to recreate that when we put the tank up, but right now we're putting some foam sticky bottom parts just to help with the leveling of the tank so that when it rests even. Then prepare the surface. You don't want anything caught underneath it, any type of dirt. And also when I'm busy placing the tank, I want it to be aesthetically pleasing, so I measure on both sides to make sure it's exactly center before I scape it and I fill it up. Speaking of, let's try and recreate that scape that we got a bit earlier. I'm looking for height, and I'm looking for some contrast between the wood itself and the rock to make it look natural, but also a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for, dramatic. So a landscape that you would see in the wild, but something that's really cool to look at as well. Then we're going to fill in the substrate here. The trick to this is really to try and get it in everywhere and use it as a bit of a support. Luckily at the back you can build it a bit higher because we're going to have some deep rooted plants that are going to grow higher up in the back and some lower ones in the front. So the rock work and the wood actually helps to hold it in the back. And if I do say so myself, I think it turned out pretty nicely. I'm quite happy with the way the wood and the rock is working together. So happy with that. Time to start installing the hardware, beginning with the light, and we'll have to plug everything in as we go along. So happy with the light. It's obviously quite easy, plug and play. The filter and the heater, I had to decide where exactly to put it to have the maximum effect and to have it look the best. And I think one on either side helps to spread it out a bit. And at some point we might even have a hang-on back filter just to open up a bit of the area. So that is that. Time to fill it up with water. I didn't necessarily have a pump, so I went bucket by bucket, but it gets the job done. And also it allows me to put it in slowly so I don't mess up the aquascape or the soil. So let's plug in this filter. There you go. And officially the tank is running. We have the heater going, we have the rest of the tank going, the filter, and honestly it's quite nice to see everything put together. So the second last step is to add our beneficial bacteria. We're going to open up and put in some stability, which is basically bottled bacteria, so they can start colonizing the tank and slowly growing on the rocks and the driftwood and the substrate, and that's going to convert nutrients from food into nutrients for the plants so that we have to do less water changes. These are just some pellets that I give to my marine shrimp. These are going to slowly start breaking down in the water, letting off the nutrients that the bacteria needs to grow and to feed on and to colonize in the tank, recreating if there was life in it, so that when life comes, it's already been set up. So now we have the tank set up, we have the light installed, the filter, the heater, and we have some nutrients in the tank for the beneficial bacteria to feed off for the next couple of weeks so that it can grow and populate the tank. What we're going to do now is leave it as it is on a dark cycle. What that means by a dark cycle is that we don't turn the light on just yet, because right now we have nutrients, we have soil, but we don't have any plants to take that up. So if we add light into the mix, we're going to get algae. So we're going to leave it as it is on a dark cycle with no light for about a week or two, and then we're going to be adding plants into the scape, and it's just going to go nuts from there. So that is it for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like on the video, and if you want to see this and more and how this tank is going to fill out, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you once again, as always, next time on Chris Aquariums. Cheers.